So in this video we're taking an old tired grey second-hand Switch Lite and doing loads of upgrades, new shell, new buttons, Hall effect thumbsticks, and last but not least an OLED screen by Taki. So without further delay, let's dive in. So just to let you guys know, this video is sponsored by JLCPCB stroke JLC 3DP. More on them a little bit later. So the main purpose of this video is taking a look at the OLED screen for the Switch Lite by Taki. Now if you didn't know who Taki was, he is a YouTuber and a small business owner who's actually making loads of modifications for all sorts of devices, including the Nintendo Switch. So Taki's latest adventure has taken him to the Nintendo Switch Lite, where he's made an OLED screen replacement for that original LCD screen. Now I love the Nintendo Switch Lite, but I always found it lacking to have an OLED screen version. Now it's really cool that we're actually getting something that Nintendo never intended to sell. It's really cool to see these Switch Lites, which have been known to be the more inferior product because you can't take the Joy-Cons off, of course you can't dock it, and it does have one of those older LCD screens. Now Taki's not just doing an OLED screen for this, because if we take a look at his website, he's gonna also sell versions with the touch screen, and he's also gonna have a version that has HDMI out, which will replace the 3.5mm headphone jack. Now of course you can just upgrade the screen in your Switch Lite to the OLED version, but while you're in there, you may as well do some other modifications. Now, Taki was kind enough to also send TMR Hall effect thumbsticks with both of the kits that I received. Now, I am going to be using those thumbsticks in this video, but I've also got a black ExtremeRate shell and button kit. So we're going for an all stealthed out black look, and I'm going to be replacing everything in this video. Now when we do the disassembly, I will stop and let you guys know the point that you would stop with the disassembly, and you'd go ahead and change that screen out and then you'd put it back together. Obviously we're going all the way here because we're going to take everything out and put that new shell in. So let's go over what I'm going to be using in this video, and we'll do the unboxing of the OLED screen dubbed the Super 5. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now the kit that I'm going to be using here today is the Super 5 OLED non-touch version, no HDMI, and we've gone for the black surround. Now both kits that I have received are identical, so they're both non-touch. So let's have a look to see what you get in the box. So the first thing you're going to find at the top of the box is this RF shield. Now it has been cut out to a different shape to accommodate that flexible PCB. Now we do have a sucker here which is used for lifting up that screen. It's actually a really good quality one. I've seen some real cheap and nasty ones before, but this one's actually quite good. Here we have a container to put all your screws in, and it's really cool to see that you get some Hall effect thumbsticks, and I do believe these are TMR Hall effect thumbsticks. Now I don't actually know if you'll get these in future. The reason they were included with my kits is because of the delay. So next up we have the toolkit itself, and yes, it was a little bit of a pain to get into, but nothing a good shaking won't sort out. So we have some screwdrivers, we've got tweezers, we've got picks and separators, etc. Basically everything you need to do the job. And we do of course have this screwdriver you can see me holding now with different attachments. Now the star of the show of course is that OLED screen, and it comes in this really cool protective pelican case with 4 clips, which is really nice because OLED screens can get damaged very easily. So let's go ahead and open the case up and see what else is inside, because I know there's a screen in here, but I got a feeling there's some other bits and bobs. So there we have it, the OLED screen for the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now of course, if we flip the screen over, we're going to see 2 connectors instead of the normal 3, because like I said, this doesn't have touch. So we've got the main sort of connector and then the power connector. Now we have an extension cable for the battery here, and then we have this flexible PCB which is going to distribute power to that OLED screen, and of course you've got some buttons there to change the profiles. Now quickly just going over, we do have an ExtremeRate shell and button set, and I do actually believe this is the exact same one offered on the Retro Remake website. So it's just a soft touch black shell and then black replacement buttons. So as you've seen at the start of the video, having a black shell, black buttons, black border around the screen, and obviously the deep dark blacks you get with an OLED screen, it's just going to look really stealthed out and really cool. So here's that grey Switch Lite we're going to be working on, but unfortunately these analog sticks stick out, so putting it flat on the desk is not going to work. That's why we need this. This is the Switch Lite holder for when repairing and upgrading your Switch Lite. You just chuck it down on top and it's going to hold it flat. So make it nice and easy for you to take all the screws out and work on it without worrying about bending or breaking those analog sticks. So massive shout out to Aaron for designing this. Link is in the description. Go grab the STL files and print one yourself. It's a must have. But if you don't have a 3D printer, you can use the sponsor of today's video, JLCPCB. So the great thing is they're not just a PCB manufacturer, they'll also print your 3D files. And this is fantastic, having a one-stop solution to have the PCBs created reliably, affordably, at a really fast turnaround. And as you can see now, we're going to order that Switch Lite holder. So all you got to do is go to JLC3DP, download the file that's in the description of this video, and then upload that STL file. Now you've got loads of options when it comes to 3D printing. You can have it in stainless steel, resin, FDM, ABS, PLA, ASA. They've got all the options available, and you can get this part printed for as little as $12, and they also have loads of other coupons, so go check out the description below and have a look to see how much money you can save at JLCPCB. So thanks again to JLCPCB for sponsoring this video, and definitely go and check out that Switch Lite holder from Aaron, because I've actually broken thumbsticks on a Switch Lite when I've not had that sort of holder thing that holds it in place. It's a must-have when you're repairing or upgrading the Switch Lite. So let's get on with that now. So as you can see, we've got the Switch Lite in place on that Switch Lite holder, and then we're taking out those 8 screws, 4 tri-wing and 4 Phillips, and then we're going to prise the back off. Now this isn't a full in-depth tutorial, and what I was basically showing you there is one of the triggers is covered in sticky stuff, so good job that I'm opening this up anyway. So as I said, this isn't a full in-depth teardown. What I'm doing now is I'm taking just enough stuff off to take the screen out, because as I said before, I'm going to tear it down to the point which is now. This is the point where you would now take the screen out. Now of course, if you were doing a full shell swap like I'm doing, this is completely pointless, because we're actually taking the whole thing out. But what I've done is I put the suction cup in the corner, I used a hairdryer to heat it up, and then I'm using this kind of guitar pick spudger tool to get the screen out. Now this was relatively easy. You can be a little bit rough with it. because it's not fully laminated. There's an air gap between the touchscreen and the LCD. Anyway, that was pointless for me, but if you are doing just a screen swap, then that's the point where you would take the screen out and then put the new one back in. But we're going to carry on with the disassembly because we're changing quite a lot more than that. We're changing the buttons, we're changing the analog sticks with TMR Hall effect ones, and then of course we're changing the shell. So this Switch Lite that I bought for £60, about $80 from Facebook Marketplace, it came with no games whatsoever. It didn't even come with a power lead, and unfortunately it does come with a little problem. The R button, or the R bumper button if you like, which is actually part of the main motherboard itself, is no longer working. It's not clicky. So I had to buy a tiny little button from AliExpress. It cost me about £1 or $1. They're really cheap, but I have to solder it on. Now, if you guys want me to do a video on soldering that button in, kind of like a repair video on the Switch Lite, let me know in the comments below. More than happy to do that. Now, as you can see, we've taken the center chassis and battery and put it into the new black shell. We've got some isopropyl alcohol here, and we're just going to clean up some of those rubber membranes, and it's basically a case of doing everything in reverse. So we've put the gaskets in, we're putting the TMR thumbsticks in, and we're basically just putting all those buttons in. So as I said, it's just a simple case of assembling it to the point that we did the screen removal, because that's the point where we're going to put the OLED screen in. So let's just watch me get everything back together to that point, and then I'll carry on with the explanation. Okay, so we're at the point now where we removed the other screen. Now there is two cables to put in here. One of them goes sort of underneath where the cartridge slot would go, and then the other one kind of sneaks through under where the battery is. Now I would recommend watching Taki's full installation guide. The link is in the description below. And now it's just a case of getting everything else wired up. Now this flexible PCB, I had a little bit of an issue with this, and it seems a lot of other people have had issues as well. So what I actually do is I put it on an angle more towards the fan, and that seems to clear where that notch is, just above the USB-C port. Now, I'm not actually going to use that RF shield. It does nothing for the thermals, and as you can see here, it's not actually going to go in right, because look at the angle I'm putting that on, and that is the best way I found to get everything to fit. Now, what you see me doing here is just changing over everything to that back plate, because yes, we are nearly done. As far as the screen installation goes, that is now complete. And spoiler alert, which I don't even know why I bother saying spoiler alert, because everyone knows by now OLED screens are amazing, and this one that Taki's made is just so much better than the LCD that was originally in there. It's like night and day. Now the whole process took me about an hour and a half, but if you're new to this, just take your time, give yourself about 3 hours. It should be more than enough. So now we've got the Switch Lite all back together, let's have a look at how good that OLED screen actually looks. So what's my overall thoughts and opinions on the OLED screen from Taki for the Switch Lite? Well, I actually found the screen relatively easy to change out, a lot easier than when I did the screen swap on the Steam Deck. Now, if you've never done a screen swap before and you're a bit worried about doing it, the Switch Lite is a really good one to start with, because it doesn't really matter if you damage the old screen, they're two a penny. And putting the new OLED screen in is really easy because it's got that adhesive already there and it fits perfect within the boundaries. It looks really good. It's a really good finish. Now, as far as the quality of the OLED screen itself, all I can really say is, wow. It looks amazing. It even looks better than the original Switch OLED, and I did actually get some footage of that side by side. It looks really cool, and the buttons that are kind of hidden behind the back panel on that piece that we put in, those buttons change the color profile. Now, I did find that changing those, you could match the original OLED, but that's like a default setting. I actually changed it to vivid because the colors pop even more, and it's not oversaturated anymore. I think it would be, but it's the perfect amount and it looks absolutely fantastic. So well done, Taki. You've done an amazing job, and thanks for sending this kit out for me to review. You are a legend. Can't wait to see what else you come out with. Now, as I said before, I will put a link for these OLED screens in the description below, and I'll also put a link to Taki's YouTube channel because his installation guide is really good. So that wraps it up for this video, but if you enjoy my content, you know what to do by now. Like, subscribe, and then don't forget to give that bell a little tinkle so you don't miss any future uploads. I'm JP, you've been watching Alien Gaming, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.